Hello and welcome to the Successful Mentalist podcast. This is episode 12 and my name is Aidan O'Sullivan. I'm one of your co-hosts, joined by my good friend Ashley Green.
Hello there.
Oh, perfect. This episode is a fantastic episode because, again, much like episode 8, we are not here to teach you the tips, the tricks, the skills, the strategies and the tools that you need to improve and grow your performances and mentalism business. Instead, we're handing that power over to a special guest.
So yeah, we're handing today over to an incredible performer. And this is someone who both myself and Aidan watched their online show right at the beginning of the UK lockdown. And the production value they put into it was insane. I mean, you're going to hear the story of how they rented out over 1,000-seat theatre just to do an online show. Can you think of any performer in the world at the moment who has rented a massive theatre just for online shows? Absolutely incredible. Some of the knowledge and the deeper provoking thoughts that go into this episode are worth their weight in gold. So I honestly can't wait to share today's interview with all of you.
Yeah, it's genuinely an incredible episode. It was perhaps one of my favourites of all of the episodes that we've recorded. So I know you're going to get a lot out of this. So episode 12 of the Successful Mentalist podcast, you are joined by none other than the legendary Caroline Ravn. Hey everybody, we are here today with a fantastic guest. We're just going to jump straight in because you've heard all of the plugs. We are joined with the incredibly talented Caroline Ravn. Hey Caroline, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, very good. It's honestly an absolute pleasure to have you on. We was literally, when we first started thinking of people that we wanted to talk to, we'd seen an awful lot of your stuff online and it would kind of just both had that same idea at the same time. Just, we need to get Caroline on. So
Yeah.
I'm glad you're here.
Well, thank you for having me.
Just something that Ashley actually told me this morning that I was unaware of. At this point, you've done 3 TED Talks. I mean, I knew about that, but you've got a 4th in the pipeline. Is that correct?
Yes, I was going to do one in September, but then Corona happened and things got changed around.
That's yeah. I actually didn't know that until Ashley said this morning. So
It's incredible. There's obviously there's so few people that have done a TED Talk, let alone basically nearly 4 now, which is insane.
Yeah.
So how do you cope with that pressure of having something like that going on?
I'm a very much a yes person. So whenever someone is throwing something at me, I always go yes. And then I just hope for the best. And most of the times when you do a TED Talk or anything of that scale, it's not just you. There's an entire team of people, like consultants and script writers and everything like that. So you kind of have that safety net of they want it to be a great show and a great performance. So you're never standing there alone, I guess.
That's great.
That's crazy.
No, that's awesome. It's something that we wanted to ask because there's a lot of people that watch our podcast that are new to doing stuff on stage, and they always ask about how to cope with pressure and that. And to be honest, that probably links us to our next thing, which we wanted to talk about. And like we mentioned when obviously we was off air a second ago, your online show, both me and Aidan watched that and it was incredible. Like we mentioned off air, you rented out a theatre to do an online show in, and I've not seen anything like that. Even from the intro, just going through it, it was so the production value, and that's what we kept talking about afterwards, the level of work you and the team put into it was just insane. What led you to doing that?
Some stupidity, some greed, I guess, and just a lot of people saying, yes, let's do this. I mean, the show is called Where the Magic Happens, and it was a show that I was touring with back in 2018. And it was a Swedish show. It was approximately 80 minutes. And then the opportunity just kind of presented itself to me. And I was asked, do you want to do a live show? And I said yes. And at the time, I didn't really think too much about it. I was never thinking that we were going to rent a 1,120 seat theater because it was huge. And I walk in there, it's like one of the, well, I work those venues all the time, but I walk in there and I think to myself, there's cameras everywhere and there's going to be 11 people in the audience. It was so strange. And I knew like 6 out of these 11 people. And performing for friends is scary. And then you have your 6 friends and like 6 more people, but it wasn't really. But, you know, half of them, you know, like personally, the guy that comes up for the first trick and stands on like the very end on the stage, that's actually my boyfriend that I live with. And he was gonna pick a card, and I was like, no, I don't trust you as much. So he got to like pick a card like that instead. And everyone who saw that, who knows me, they were like, oh my God, you did that to Andreas. How did you do that? And I mean, it's when you get that opportunity, just say yes and just do it. And I was just looking through today, actually, I was looking through the material, and a lot of people who watched this show, they were just like you guys. The production value was amazing and all of that. But we got 13 minutes and 10 seconds of rehearsal.
Oh, that's insane.
That is insane. And I have the entire thing filmed, like the entire the entire rehearsrsal. It's in Swedish. So I've been thinking that maybe I'm going to have someone put subtitles on it and just put it up on YouTube, like with a code that you need a code to access it or something. Because it is very stressful to put up something like that and have it be as good as it was. And I think that I have so many other people to thank for this, for it being that good. I mean, we both have the tour that I did. I have the experience from that. And also Kyle and Misty Knight, who are Misty is one of my agents. And she has helped me so much with my cruising career and, you know, writing the cue sheets and knowing what to do with lights and sound and smoke. I owe that all to her. And she wasn't even part of this production. And it's so nice to be able to have all of these experiences and just bring it all together, because you kind of need to have so many legs to stand on to do something like this, especially in such short amount of time. I think we booked the theater 10 days in advance. So everything was like very, very last minute. And I asked my friend Charlie Caper if we had the time to come in and direct the show. And he was like, yeah, I have 1 day. And so he came in for 1 day. And the rest just, you know, it just happened. And it turned out to be a great show. And I had a very lovely time.
That's crazy. I don't think now I've kind of got a little bit of a reputation amongst the people that I work with. What my shows are just friends and things that we usually put that together. I've kind of got a reputation for leaving things to the last minute, but I wouldn't say to that sort of degree. I mean, I think that instantly blows that out of the water. Like that 13 minutes of rehearsals. What, if you don't mind me asking, what did that like consist of? Was that you running through sort of the material? Was that more the cues? Was that, or just?
It was mainly the lights and sound cues. And the reason for it being such a short amount of time is because in Sweden, we have this thing where, well, because of the virus, we have this thing where people can get the same amount of salary or like slightly less, and they don't have to work as much because the government is covering part of their paycheck. So they have to maintain those hours that they're allowed to work. So they couldn't work for 5 hours or 2 hours extra that day that I wanted as a rehearsal. So that's why we had to do it that way. So I had to be very precise and I had to print everything out. And I was very clear, like, you do this, you do this, you do this. I was like a dictator. Yeah. But I think people would get a laugh out of watching it, actually. You can hear me at the start of the rehearsal. I go, why have we not started yet? You know? And my agent is like, calm down, Caroline, calm down.
That's crazy.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's my name on the door and people want to watch it. And I need to make sure that the production is good enough to, you know, have my name on and all of that. So yeah, it was very stressful and we did it. And I'm very glad we did, because now we have this video and you guys saw it. The video quality is amazing, but unfortunately the sound person, he did something wrong with the sound, so they couldn't record the sound after. So it was never recorded. So the idea was to have it recorded and added it on top of the video afterwards, because we wanted to sell it to a TV station. But now we can't do that because of the crappy sound. So I guess I'm going to have to do it again.
Well, that's unheard of in and of itself. Like, let's do an entire theatre show in a situation where we can't have anybody in the audience. Oh, let's do it again. Let's do it.
Wow, that's insane. Just like we said, like off air, we can't think of anyone that's just done that. Like has put themselves in a situation and just rented out the theatre. It's literally just like I'm mind blown. And me and Aidan are going on a tour when theatres reopen. But with that, obviously, we're going to put time in for rehearsals. So being able to do it in just like such a short amount of time, and the the end product, like it was really good. When we were watching it live, it was like insane. The way like everything was just timed to the music, the lighting, it was incredible. Like, do you think that is the most important thing for people, like if we have listeners wanting to do shows and that, get a good team around you? What would you say is like the one most important thing for it?
Oh, the team, 100% the team. I mean, I wouldn't worry too much about the show. I would worry more about how everything is going to look at the end. I mean, you still have to have a good show to be able to do it, but make sure you have a good lighting guy and sound guy and camera team. So the camera team that I was working with, they are used to doing live TV. So they had all the like TV quality production stuff with them, like cameras. And, there was a guy in the back who was like, he was really funny too. I can't remember his name. Gunnar was his name. And I was talking to him during the show. I said a joke and I can't remember. Oh, yeah. It was during Celebrity Smartass. And we were going through the cards. And I said something, oh, so it's not Gunnar or something like that. And I can hear him laughing on the side. It was so much fun. So yeah, get a really good team around you and you can basically do anything that you want. I'm very fortunate to have an agent that I work so close with and she knows basically everyone. So, and that's also how I ended up doing my first TED Talk. So it's all about being with the right people and just saying yes to the opportunities. Because if you are working with the right people, they want you to succeed, right? So they're going to help you in any way that they can. So that's my number one advice. Make sure you have the right people around you. And if you do, everything is just going to be so much easier.
Is there are there certain things that you look for in the right people, or is it just these people just seem to appear and they just
have to like me very much? No, I'm kidding.
Suppose that works.
No, I'm looking for people who are better than me on things that I don't know what I'm doing with. Like with the sound, I have no idea what I'm doing. So of course I wanted someone who has many, many years of experience working with a magician on a big stage like that. So the guy I ended up working with, he's been working with a guy named Johan Ståhl, who you might have heard of him. He has a DVD out called Sleeveless Sleeving. And I'm thinking that he should put out a second DVD with me with the Cleaveless Cleaving. No, I'm thinking that could be fun, but no, he said no. So I'm still working on it. But you need people that has more experience than you and also think that it's fun. Because I mean, at this point, I did not have all the money to rent like these people, like hire them. So the city actually ended up sponsoring me with the theater and with the people inside the theater. And I got a sponsor who paid for the camera team. And we're talking about a camera team that costs like 6,000 euros to rent for one day. And I mean, I didn't have to pay for anything. I mean, I did pay for Charlie Caper's time for being the director, and I paid for all the props and my agent and, all of that. But at the end of the day, it's all about having the right people around you and making sure that we want to bring this together. Because as you said, people have not done this before and they want it to be part of something that is, well, historical in one way, but also helping out being a female magician, like helping levitate the female magicians of the world. So, and I never want to play the female magician card, because I really don't like that. I mean, I just want to be a magician. But then sometimes you gotta play that card because it helps. And here I am.
Yeah, no, it's great. I think what you're doing for it. A friend of ours, Bella, has just got into doing stuff online, and she's rapidly growing her stuff. And we were talking about it, and I think it is because like it's weird that there's so few like actually female magicians in magic. It's like you go to a magic convention, it's like so male dominated. Yeah. It's weird. Like we just don't understand it. Why do you think it is, out of curiosity?
I think there are a couple of reasons. One of them is probably because we don't have that many female magicians or female like artists who are like idols to us, I guess. I mean, we have Juliana Chen. She's absolutely amazing, but she hasn't been along like that long. Was it like in 93 or something she won FISM? And then we don't really have that many others. There's one woman who has her own theater show in Vegas, and I believe that she's the only one, Jen Kramer. And we don't see it. I mean, we saw the movie Now You See Me. We have that woman as part of the Horsemen or whatever it was called, and she was exchanged to the other movie, like the second movie. So we don't really value the female magicians that we have. So I see that's part of the problem. But another problem is that when you go to a magic club or to a magic convention, there's a lot of sexism, and there's a lot of, here is my half-naked woman who is my assistant, and this is what you're supposed to do if you want to be in the industry. So, and also I was doing this, like the next day after I was doing Where the Magic Happens, I was doing an interview with a guy from a German magazine. It was a magic magazine, and he saw the show, and he really liked it a lot. And he said that it was interesting how I was so inspired by Rob Zabrecky. And I said, oh, that's interesting, because Rob Zabrecky was, inspired by my mentor, Tom Stone, who just happens to live in my city and who has been my mentor for 6.5 years. And I know all of his stuff, and he helped wrote this show. And he was very fixated about this idea that Tom Stone wrote the show, and he wrote the entire program and all of that. And I was like, no, I did everything myself. I did the cue sheets, I did everything, and all of that because of the experience that I have. And when I was reading the article, well, I had a friend who wrote it. Well, she read it for me and translated it because it was in German. And she said it's so strange how he says that everything was because of this other man, like Tom Stone. And it also says that, I had a good personality and it was a good show, but it didn't have a red thread. And it was such a shame that I was so manly. And I'm like, why am I manly? It's because I'm wearing pants. I've never considered myself a manly person. So it's I don't know. It's very strange, and I see this every time I go to a magic convention. It's always like you're supposed to be like this, or wear this, or do these and that trick, and it's a very interesting world to get into as a woman. And if you're not strong enough, or if you don't stand your ground, it's very easy to be pushed down in a way where you feel like you have to take your shirt off, I guess, to be an assistant or whatever, because that's the tradition. But it doesn't have to be that way. And I'm very fortunate. I was grown up in a beautiful family here in Sweden with 2 boys and 2 girls, and my dad and a mom, and they all raised us equally. I could play with Barbies if I wanted to, but I also had my Action Man, and I had my cars, and I had one of those carpets that you take your cards and you drive around. That was my childhood, and my dad never made any judgments if I wanted to do something boyish or girlish. So when I grew up into this industry, I was kind of surprised when I go to the magic conventions and see that I am supposed to be put in a separate. I'm supposed to be on a girls' night if I'm supposed to be someone who's performing, and it just never really occurred to me as the right thing, So maybe that's part of it. We kind of don't feel like we're welcomed so many times, and sometimes I go to magic conventions and they decide to have a special program for the women, but we just want to be part of the convention. It's very strange. So I think there are a lot of different reasons, but those are probably the main ones. Well, that's what I see, at least.
It's fascinating to hear. I'm doing a lot of sort of research into the public's perception of magic at the minute. It's something I've been fascinated with for years now. And having spoken to some people about what do you think about the female magicians, and everybody kind of, it seems to be more of that idea of, as you're saying, the more assistant kind of approach to being a magician in that nature. So do you think there's anything that us as a community can start doing? Obviously there's that level of sort of inclusion just on a normal level, what should be expected. Is there any other things that we can actually actively do to sort of level this out a little bit more, maybe?
Yeah, I think we should stop doing women's nights at magic conventions. And if we want to do a women's night, make sure you plan it way in advance, so the people who are actually good enough to be able to be part of the show. Because most of the times when they do a women's night on a magic convention, it's a very last minute thing. And I mean, me and the other women who are killing it out there, we don't have time when they try to book us 1 month in advance. So they end up bringing out women who are probably not ready for it. I'm not saying they're bad, particularly. It's more they're not ready for that type of performance. And that's how we display women being bad magicians. So I'm guessing that's one thing that I think we should stop right away. And if we want to do a women's night, let's do it right. Let's bring out the A game. That's what I think. And I'm not sure that I would be part of the A game. I mean, I would love to, but I'm not sure that I am, because I mean, we have Laura London. She's absolutely amazing. We have Faye Presto. We have Jen Kramer, and there's so many other women who should be more displayed than they are. And I'm very thankful and happy to be in this position where people look up to me and they think that I'm doing a great job. And but there's so many other women out there who needs to be lifted up, because they're doing amazing jobs. Who was that woman? She's from the UK. She has a very funny name. Jazz Vegas. Isn't that her name?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she was on that TV show with the magicians. I can't remember the name of the show.
Killer Magic.
That's the one. Yeah, it was very interesting, because she was very much portrayed like the woman who is weird and crazy, and maybe she is. I've never met her, but I kind of want a TV show like that to levitate the women more. Not saying that they're separate, but make sure that the value of what that person is bringing, it needs to be so high quality that it cannot be questioned, because if it is, it's gonna be. It's and we don't want that. We want a community where women are feeling like they're safe and they're being well taken care of. But then again, it's like everything else, with racism and sexism and all of that. It kind of comes down to just being true to yourself, I guess, and having your very own sense of what's right. And I was, as I told you, I was brought up in this family where people are equal, no matter the color or the gender. So it all comes down to what you believe in. And if you don't think that women are worth the equal amount as men, maybe you have to take a good look at yourself in the mirror and maybe check what date it is. We're 2020. I mean, we're done with this talk. We should be talking about other things. And I don't know what, but things that should make sense.
Yeah, people just need to grow up and just start treating people as people. That's pretty much
ridiculous.
What they need to do. One thing I wanted to ask about, you mentioned a little while ago about your agent.
Yes.
And obviously there are people watching and listening, like the people on YouTube and the people listening to this. How did you get your agent? How did that come about?
So I have two agents. My main agent is Charlotte Dunhoff. So that's she's been working with me for almost 3 years now. And then I have Misty Knight, who I've been working with for a year. So I met Charlotte when I was performing at a gig 3 years ago. Soon it will be 3 years ago. And she wanted to leave the party because she doesn't like magicians. She still doesn't like magicians. So she was like, oh, no, I'm not a magician. I'm going to head out. And so this guy, Ravn, he says, you know what, Charlotte, you're actually going to like this woman. And she's like, oh, it's a lady magician. Okay, I'll stay and see what she's all about. And so she stays and she watches, and I have a heckler in the show. And he is so annoying, and I'm just putting him down. And she comes up to me afterwards, and I had no idea that she was there. And I mean, she's kind of a big shot over here. She's working with the best people, and she's my age as well. She just turned 30, just like me. And so she's super tiny and blonde and super cute. And she comes up to me. And she's like, hi, I'm Charlotte. I'm an agent. And I was like, do you want it stirred and not shaken or whatever? I'm thinking weird things. And I'm not taking it seriously. And she said, oh, I would like to represent you. And at this point, I'm doing everything myself. I'm booking everything. I'm doing my website and, everything that you need to be doing. So I was like, yeah, sure. I'll come for a coffee with you. And I went there for one coffee. We took another one a couple of weeks later, and then a third one. And then she was like, so have you decided yet? And I was like, decided what? That you want to work with me? And I was like, what? No, I don't know. It's because it was so strange. Someone else should have, the power of my company. That's what I felt like, that they take over my clients and they take part of my money and, all of that. But then I was like, okay, yes, I'm going to try. So I gave her everything, the password to my computer, not the computer, but to my email accounts. And she got my entire contact list. And the first year she increased my income by 400%. And Yeah, and that was amazing, and just being able to work with someone who believes in you so much, it was very interesting, and like everything that I wanted to do. And she always puts it like this, like Caroline, you have so many small ideas and you have big ideas, and you take the ideas and you turn them into balls, and then you toss everything up in the air and you close your eyes and you hope that I catch at least one of them. And that really is what it is like working with an agent. You just share all your ideas with that person. And she, or in my case, it's a she will bring out the best parts of that and make it into a reality. Like the show that I did, the tour that I did, my TED Talks, redoing my website, doing YouTube. All of that is because of working with someone who believes in me. And I guess that's...
So is that how you've managed to, would you say, grow your social media presence through the help of your agent, or?
No, she wanted me to start YouTube, but I'm growing the most on Instagram. I'm currently at 39.9 thousand, I think, which is great. I was up at 40 last week, but then I shared a photo of my boyfriend, and then, you know, everything just drops down. So I need to put up like a bikini photo soon, I guess. I guess that's how it works. No, I've been working on my social media for about 5 years now on my Ravn Magic one on Instagram. And I think I'm growing quite a lot because of the cards. I have my own line of playing cards called Ravn Playing Cards. We're currently working on Ravn 4, which is coming quite soon. So I think that's where it really like took off, where people were seeing that, oh, there's this woman, she's doing this, and she's also a magician. Oh, that's amazing. And also because of, you know, consistently throwing out things. I'm trying to put out at least one thing a day, but it's hard. Sometimes you're kind of feeling like you don't have any motivation and you don't have any inspiration. But it really makes everything easier when there is the stories part as well, I think. Because at first I was like, oh, this doesn't fit in my, feed, and then I didn't post it. But now I can just put it up on my story instead, and I don't have to pay as much attention. Well, I would never say that I pay attention to my feed anyways, because it looks weird, and I don't use any presets or anything. I just try to share something of value. Like yesterday, I posted a photo where I asked cake or pie, and I think I got like 60 responses or something. And it's very simple. Like, ask something that will get like an instant reaction in people. Like, I think most people said cake, but I'm more of a pie person.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went with pie.
You did?
Yeah. I did. I threw that out there. So, just out of curiosity, obviously you mentioned your YouTube. What sort of content is it that you're putting out there, and sort of what made you pick that content over, well, anything else really? Is there a specific sort of approach that you decided to take with it, or is it just, I need to be on YouTube, here's stuff?
Yes, it's a very good question, because I'm currently reworking my YouTube. I don't really know what I want to do. It all started, well, years ago, really. I just put up like one thing a year or something, and I wasn't planning on making any money off of YouTube at all. So, but then in December 2017, was it 18? In December 2018, I was sitting to myself and I was thinking, okay, what do I want to do with next year? And I was just looking around in my room, and I have this collection of playing cards at home. It's probably like 500 decks in my apartment. And I was thinking, I have so many, why don't I give them away? And then I decided maybe I should do like a review. So I reviewed a deck every Friday. So I review a new deck, and then I was giving it away. So last year I ended up spending so much money on shipping, like so much money on shipping and just giving away cards that I've spent so much money on. So I decided to not do that this year because it was too expensive. So now I'm also doing the reviews, but you have to be part of my Patreon family to be able to be entered into the giveaway. And I mean, I'm seeing that the views are going down from that, and I don't get as much engagement as I did before. But I love playing cards. I've always loved playing cards. So for me, it's fun to be able to give that every week. And I was doing a gig last Friday in front of real people. Weird, but it was in front of real people. And they gave me a deck at the end of the show, and I told them that I would review it for them, and they were like, "What?" And so we talked about it after the show, and and it's for the city of Stockholm. So it's quite a big company and, well, organization, I guess. So I'm going to do a review in Swedish and put it up on my YouTube and tag them on LinkedIn and stuff like that, and they're going to see it. So that's how I try to do everything. Like if I'm reviewing something that I know, like Patrick Kuhn did a deck, I make sure that I tag him and he will repost it. And maybe I'm doing something from, I don't know, the Verts, and they will tag me in something. And same thing with Borderline Adam on Instagram. If you don't know him, you have to look him up. He's an amazing photographer. So whenever he's doing like photos for me, I make sure to post them like many, many times, and he's going to repost them because we're fans of each other. So that's basically how I try to run my YouTube, that I try to find ways to integrate it with other people, and also making sure that I can actually fly with that on my Instagram as well. But it's like I'm running a business here. I'm a very entrepreneurial person, and I'm thinking that maybe I should do that too, like have some videos where I talk about how I run it and what it's like working with an agent and working with a production team and all of that, because people are always curious, like, what is it really like? And I have so many pointers and so many mistakes that I can talk about. But then again, I have to sit down and do it. So it's, yeah, we'll see. What would you guys be interested in watching? Sorry?
Oh, pardon, sorry?
No, I was asking, like, if you were to go onto my YouTube and you're thinking, who is this woman? What would you be interested in watching then? Would it be the business part of it? Would you like to see behind the scenes? Because, I mean, you're kind of in the industry as well. And I kind of want to give back something, because I don't want to put down my time in doing something that the industry would not be interested in, because it doesn't make sense.
Well, personally, I actually prefer watching the business side of things and looking how it runs. Mainly because it's something I'm interested in myself. Like, I enjoy magic, I enjoy mentalism, but I have like a big background in sales, and I love like that whole entrepreneurial thing. So for me personally, I love that, and I know a lot of our listeners from our podcast as well have that similar sort of thing. Like, they always message us things like how to get gigs and like how to do the other stuff apart from the tricks. And it's weird, because when we launched our podcast, we wanted to talk not about the tricks, but talk about the other stuff, and people seem to like really resonate with it, and like constantly it's the same messages over: how to book gigs, how to get out there. So maybe something like that would be pretty useful.
Yeah.
It's annoying because I was literally going to say the exact other point. I mean, I've got these plans to go and do a like stage show and then go on tour and stuff. But so these behind the scenes things that you mentioned, for like from my perspective anyway, that's invaluable, because you could actually be able to see what other people are doing. So at least there's some form of idea of what does that consist of? Because I say it myself, but I know an awful lot of other people would probably argue that they're not sure what goes on behind the scenes of a theatre show. They're not sure what goes on behind the scenes of anything really. So yeah.
There was something else I wanted to mention as well, and it's because a lot of our audience are magicians doing mentalism, or just straight out mentalists, and all they do is they go out and read minds. I wanted to ask you, obviously there's a lot of bad performances of mentalism and people do it in like a very boring and mundane way, but then on the other side there's some good parts about it and it can be quite enjoyable. So have you got like what do you like about mentalism, and also what don't you like what can people improve upon in the art?
I don't really like when it's props that doesn't make any sense, like the stars and the waves and the circles. I'm like, why are we why are we still doing that? I've never understood it. I've never understood it. But I like it when people make it about something that's a reality. Like I was at the session, was it this year or maybe the year before? And Ben Seidman was performing, and he was doing with those symbols. He was doing that, but it was different. It was with like a tarot deck, and he was doing it with Nicola Arcane, who is also a female magician. She lives in Ireland, I think. Also very good, by the way. No, but he was doing this reading on her, and it made sense because it was about her life, and she just got a divorce, and all of that came out from the cards, and everything just ended up laying together like it was perfect, and she was on the right path, or whatever he framed it as, and then it makes sense to me. Like, but it doesn't make sense to me like, oh, think of a word in this book. And I'm like, yeah, well, there's so many words in that book. But I mean, we have great tricks as well. That is like that. Like a wiki test is amazing. Like first time I saw it, it blew my mind. It was so good. But I mean, I've never really understood like a full theater, like a 90-minute Mentalist show that is just like trick. Because I'm more of a storytelling person myself. I like it when it's something that touches someone's hearts and minds, and making it into not really, oh, this is the word you're thinking of. More like, this is an emotion that we're creating in the room. And the emotion should not only be, wow, how did you do that? So I would like something more.
Yeah, we recently done a lecture for a magic club called the Boring Mentalism Lecture, and it was talking about pretty much just that, where people just do things with like ESP symbols, but it's like in a weird context that doesn't make sense for them, and they're not linking it into maybe like the history, or like you say, like a reading or something like that, and it's out of the blue, and they're doing it because other people are doing it, and it just doesn't fit their character. And it's interesting, just like was looking into the responses from what people were coming back to us and saying that it's down to the performer themselves, and they don't often think about the performance side of things. So have you got tips that maybe someone can do to like improve their performance skills?
A lot of people say that you should go try improv theater, and that's probably great for many people. But I mean, I have other working life experience. I used to be a minister, and used to like preach in a church, and it was great. And so for me, it kind of comes down to that experience. Like I know how to talk to people. I know how to touch them, and I know, well, that sounds weird, but and that's a very Me Too thing to say, isn't it? No, but I've come to that experience where I feel like I know what to do. Like when you're a preacher, you're supposed to have like it's almost like making a movie, isn't it? Like you have the start, and you have the middle, and you have the end, and you know what you want the people to feel and experience during this time. And I got that experience that I could bring into magic and bring into mentalism or whatever I wanted to do. So I think don't just put all of your eggs into magic or mentalism. Try to have something else as well. Like if you're interested in film or music or theater or art or cars or whatever it is, make sure you bring that into you as well, because that's going to make you a more interesting performer. So in my show, I talk about that. Well, in the normal where the magic happens, there is a part that is approximately like 12 or 13 minutes where I turn into like a preacher during the show. And I do this thing, with it's called the Bank something. Is it called Blank Night from
John Archer.
John Archer.
Yeah,
I love John
yeah.
Archer. He's so funny. He's
brilliant.
always drunk when he's around me. No, he's
brilliant.
so funny. Yeah, that's the only way he can stand me. No, it's not. No, but he has this trick with like mine and yours and all of that. So I changed it into Bible quotes during the show, and I ended up getting drink tickets in the end of the envelopes, and I gave it away to someone. And it is a really beautiful thing to do, because people know that about me, because I'm, somewhat of a celebrity, not really, but like people know who I am, and they know the story of me being a preacher before. So being able to bring that into the show, it makes sense, and it makes them feel like I am a more human person, like I had a normal, well, I'm not sure that a preacher is a normal life, but it's a very, I'm not just a magician, I'm something else as well. So that's what I'm saying. Try to find other interests and bring it into your life. And if you don't, just go out there and try to get that. Like watch a movie, read another book, do something you haven't done in a while, like go climbing, do whatever. Just get other inputs, because it's going to make you more of a diverse artist. And I think at the end of the day, it's not that we're just going to go see a magic show. We want to go see that magician or that mentalist or that singer. especially now after this crisis is over, I think we're going to want to be close to the people that we look up to. And in our case, it's magicians and mentalists that are doing something that's different.
I mean, that makes complete sense. It's something that we've desperately tried ourselves. I mean, I know from a personal perspective, I'm looking a lot more now into music, and generally I'm just fascinated by music, movie soundtracks, all of that kind of stuff. So it kind of links back to watching your show again, like watching your show, the way that you had the music playing throughout, and it just, everything fit in. That's something that I'm trying to look at, like from my own perspective. But besides this, would you say that there's any other specific points of interest from you? I mean, obviously you've spoken about your background, but would you say that there are other maybe experiences that you've had that have really forged like a real big input? I mean, obviously you said you've worked with the likes of Tom Stone and you brought your other background, but are there any other things both in magic or out that have really left a mark, if you like, but not mark?
Oh, that's a great question. I mean, the entire show Where the Magic Happens is surrounded around the story that, like, it's about me being the product of a magician grandfather, right? So that really had a huge impact on me. And he died when I was little, and then I ended up not doing magic for 15 years, and then I came back. And I came back because I showed a card trick to Tom Stone, and I had no idea who he was. And the trick was so bad, and it was really, really bad. And he just said, oh, I should teach you some magic tricks. And he ended up giving me like a 3-day workshop, and it was great. And it always felt like he was just shaking his hands in front of his face, and then something appeared, like a lollipop or a DVD or, anything. So that's something that really, that's two things, I guess. Well, having the grandfather who was a magician, and also meeting certain people at certain times. Had I met Tom Stone a year before, I had probably not become a magician, because I had my boss in the church. He was also a minister. He died of cancer. And I was kind of at this, when you're studying like something that it needs to be something that you have to believe in, like if you're a cop or a nurse or a preacher or something like that, and you kind of have this belief around it. And for me, it was, if you work in the church, you should be best friends with God. And then he ended up, dying, my boss. And for me, it was like, oh, okay, maybe God exists, but if he does, maybe he's not the kind of good person, I guess, that I wanted him to be. So had I met Tom a year before all of this happened, I would probably not be open to a different path in life. And Tom just saw me in that small room of the Magic Bar in Stockholm. And 2 months after meeting Tom, I went to my, new boss, I guess, and I said, I won't be here after summer. I'm quitting my job to become a magician. And he just said, what? Because he had no idea that I did magic at the time. But I quit my job, and it's the scariest and the best thing I've ever done. If you have a dream of becoming a magician like full time, and this is like my highest recommendation, if you, first of all, read the book of Andy Gladwin that's called Going Pro. Number one, that's what you do. And then number two, make sure you have enough money saved for at least 3 or 4 months, and then quit your job and go full into a business point of view of being a magician. Because if I did not go full pro, I don't think I could have ever done it, because I'm a very much all in person, because otherwise it doesn't make sense to me. Then I might as well just lay on the couch and watch Netflix all day, or read a book about, I'm currently reading this book. It's called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I'm halfway through, and I've read it for like a year, and because it doesn't interest me enough for me to finish it. But it's like that. If you have the opportunity and you want to do this full time, you have to just try it. And most countries have the possibility of you being able to come back to your job, maybe take 6 months off and then come back if you have to, but just try to do it, because it's the best job in the world. Like, I get to travel everywhere, meet amazing people, do what I love, and I get paid doing it. And I have so much fun. So just do it, just do it. That's my number one advice. First read the book, then do it.
Yeah, that's such a beautiful thing to say, and it is so true. And is something that I've personally done myself. I quit my full-time job, and you mentioned a magic bar, and I actually work now in a magic bar. Well, not at the moment, obviously, because they're shut in the UK. But yeah, and it is the best decision I ever made as well. Like, I go there now feeling like a sense of accomplishment, and it's enjoyable. It's not a job. It's like, it's fun, and every day is different and unique. It's great. But no, it's such a beautiful thing to say to pretty much wrap up today's interview. But I have one more slightly interesting question for you, slightly different one. And essentially it's this. If you had to pick between two, would you rather palm a human-sized playing card or perform to 100 playing-sized card humans?
The last one, 100% the last one.
Any particular reason why, out of curiosity?
Because I have very small hands.
What did I say? What did I say?
Easy answer.
I never palm cards during a show.
Is there a reason for that? Is that just?
Yeah, I can't do it.
No, that's fair enough. I've got giant hands, so I don't palm as many cards. Being a mentalist, we don't particularly do too much in the way of card magic, but yeah, that's fun. Yeah, just before we wrap up, finally, where can our listeners or viewers or wherever people are finding this, where can people find you? I mean, if we've mentioned that you've got some projects with obviously your new edition of your playing cards, but where can people find you?
Well, I have a website. It's CarolineRavn.com. So that's Caroline, RAVN.com. It's actually a Danish name, Ravn. It means raven in Danish, and it's Korp in Swedish. So there you go. Language lesson of the day. And it's also a made-up name, actually. My real name is Nilsson, but don't tell anyone. So I hope you don't have too many listeners. No, but see, I'm there, and I'm also Caroline Ravn on YouTube and Ravn Magic on Instagram. So that's where you can find me.